today, whether you're a member of the applicant or owner team, or a neighboring property owner or someone else connected to the project in some way. So we'll start with, uh, looks like Mark Gunther. Is that right? You could unmute. Just need you to unmute, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay, Mark Gunther, Workman Gunther Architects. I'm the project architect, applicant agent for the soon-to-be property owners.
Okay, great. Welcome. I see we have someone under MB.
Correct. That's probably me, Mike. My name is Mike Bash, BASCH. My partner, Stuart Naney, and I are the applicants for this property.
Okay, great. Welcome. See, we have Trey Sheldon here from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Trey.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Tiffany Reed. Are you with us? If so, if you could unmute. Yeah, I see you. If you could unmute. Yeah. We'll try Stuart Naney. Stuart Naney, are you with us? Stuart? If you could unmute, Stuart. Or looks like you are unmuted. If you could just let me know if you're there. Okay, Nick Stone.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Nick Stone. I work for the Cincinnati Port Authority and Hamilton County Land Bank, representing the owner of the property at this time.
Okay, great. Welcome. We'll try Tiffany Reed again. Tiffany Reed, are you able to unmute? I cannot hear you right now. So the mute button is usually towards the bottom left of the application. It's a little microphone shape. I'm also trying to send you a push to unmute. Okay. Stuart Naney, are you with us? Can you hear me? Yeah, it doesn't look like, Stuart, we can hear you at all. I see you are unmuted, but we'll check your microphone input. It's usually in the settings of the Zoom. You can see what microphone input you're using. I'll just give them another minute here. Does anyone know who Stuart Naney or Tiffany Reed is, or why they're here?
Stuart Naney is Mike. Sorry, Mark can chime in.
He's one of the co-owners, I believe.
Correct.
Co-developer, yes.
Or
Okay.
soon to be co-owners. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's texting me as we speak. I'm just seeing if he needs me to say something's wrong, or
Yeah.
tell them. He said, tell them, sorry, I'm not sure what is up. Okay. I'll say maybe sign off.
Yeah. Can he hear us? Stuart, can you hear us?
Can you hear?
Yeah, he can. So Stuart, I don't know if you're on a computer or a cell phone, maybe try a different device to try to log into the hearing. That sometimes can be helpful. Otherwise, I would just check those microphone settings. It's typically what the issue is. Does anyone know who Tiffany Reed is? No? Okay, Tiffany. Again, I may give you the same advice if you're on a phone, maybe try using a computer or a laptop if able. Otherwise, yeah, just look in those settings and try to unmute so that we can hear you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let me ask the applicants and Mr. Stone here. Are you all ready to proceed if we are not able to have any testimony from Mr. Naney?
Yeah.
I would believe so. Yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, I would like to think that I could probably answer the majority of the questions that you may have for us.
If for any reason he can't get connected, and we need testimony from him to go forward, we can always continue this or try to continue to troubleshoot that during this hour. But let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This will cover the procedure for the hearing. This is the December 4th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city. The case before us today is case number ZHUV240010. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. Let's pause here briefly. Stuart, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that.
No problem. Sorry. Okay, moving forward, the hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here, I'll allow anyone who is either the applicant, current owner, or future owner developer to provide any testimony at that time. Typically, what I hear during these presentations is background on the project, what exactly it is you are trying to do, and the zoning relief that you need from the city to accomplish that. And then finally, of course, why you think that zoning relief is appropriate. And in other words, why I should approve it. After that, the public will have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I will hear from the planning department and Trey Sheldon to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. All right, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that is you, if you could take yourself off of mute now, I'll need all of those people to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, you all can orient the presentation however you want. One of you can speak. All of you can speak. It's really up to you. So whoever would like to go first, I'll turn the floor over to them.
Well, I can start. Mark Gunther, Wickman Gunther Architects, David. I can just give a brief technical background on the project and why we're here today requesting the relief. And I will allow my clients and the port representative to maybe provide further backstory on how this project came to be and their efforts to get community support, et cetera. So what we have here are two existing 19th century buildings, which typically is a very common situation within the basin area of our city. This is something that's just outside of the Over the Rhine Historic District to the west, north of the FC soccer stadium, and an area that the port, I assume, because we're here, is wanting to see be able to show some growth and development that's in conjunction with the, I guess, the FC Village, whatever it's called, that surrounds the stadium. We are directly north across Liberty Street from that future development. So these existing buildings that offer an opportunity to restore and renovate into workforce housing that is so needed within the city, especially in the basin area where you have a lot of hospitality, industry workers, et cetera, that we had an opportunity to rehab and because of the decrepit conditions of part of the existing building to say propose demolishing and then rebuilding in a larger, more robust means to offer some increase in the current density from 11 to 13 dwellings. So what we have today is all the baseline requirements for the zoning code are met by the design as proposed. The only one that we are missing and need the variance for is that this has been vacant for some time now, more than 2 years, obviously. And being an formerly existing residential building in a manufacturing zone, we don't have the residential use as currently something that is accepted or approved use within that zoning district. So hence we are here today to request the continued use of the historically residential buildings we propose to restore. And that's pretty much it from us. On the technical side, Mike or Stu, if you guys want to go ahead and offer more of how we got here, story.
Yeah, I'll start, Stu. My name is Mike Bash. I'm 36 years old. I've been a resident of Over the Rhine for almost 13 years. About then is when I got involved with developing property in Over the Rhine. I previously done 2009 Elm, 1614 Main, 158 East McMicken. Stu and I partnered from then on, and we did 1405 Walnut. We just completed through the port 18 Mulberry Street, which is Christian Moorline's old mansion on Mulberry Street. And we were, I'd like to think that the port thought we did a great job. And so we reached out to them about any further options to develop through them. And that's how we found these two properties. They're very problematic. One of them hasn't had a roof for a long time. I believe that Nick from the port can vouch on this. I believe they'd already applied for state funds to have these two buildings demolished. And so I think both parties saw it as a good opportunity to save a property that has a lot of history to it, as well as to provide 13 workforce housing units for the neighborhood as it further develops.
Okay, great. And so just a couple quick questions to make sure I have this right so far. So this used to be, or was originally constructed as an entirely residential property, is that right?
Predominantly so. There were a couple of storefronts, which was typical of the 19th century buildings, a storefront, street level storefront at grade with residential behind and above those storefronts. So we are converting those storefronts into residential use for this proposal.
Got it. Okay. And there will be a total of 13 dwelling units. Is that the proposal?
That's correct.
Okay. And is residential completely prohibited in this particular zoning district? Or is it just first floor residential?
No, it's my understanding it's completely, but Trey could probably confirm that more directly.
That's correct, David. We're in a manufacturing general zoning district.
Got it. Thanks. Okay.
That did change a little bit with connected communities insofar as it allowed upright you to have up to 4 dwelling units, but that this exceeds that, and hence the zoning administrator made the determination that it would require a use variance. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Okay. Now, did Mr. Stone or Nanny want to provide any additional testimony here today on the application?
Yeah, I can provide some background from Hamilton County Land Bank, who's the current owner of the property's perspective. We have owned this property since New Year's Eve of 2018, so it's been our almost 6 years, almost 7 years, 6 years within our ownership. And like Mike said, we actually did apply for state demolition funding on this property because the left side of the building's roof collapsed, fully collapsed in on itself. And then we actually and so we really kind of took it off the market, but they actually had some interest in it. So we kind of temporarily repaired the roof, put some new sheathing up there, but it's in pretty decrepit condition. We went through our standard application process here. They applied for it, showed proof of funding. Now we have architectural drawings that they've sent over. And now I think we have a pretty good project. Still in our ownership in pre-development. we have a signed purchase and sale agreement, but we're hopefully going to get the zoning changes, and then looking forward to closing on the property. So thank you.
Got it. Okay, thanks. One more question. Did I also hear that this is going to be income restricted for the residents?
It is
No,
not income restricted. They're all market rate, but they do qualify as workforce housing.
Okay.
And I also just wanted to
quality-
reiterate what Nick and Mike said. I agree with all those things completely. And then in terms of timeliness for this, Mike and I, we don't really dilly-dally, if you will. Like, if it's pretty much as soon as we close on this and get our building permit, we would start within, I mean, our last project, we started within a week, the one before that within 2 days. So this isn't something that we would get and would just sit on the back burner. The city would see pretty much immediate action at the site.
Got it.
David,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
normally
Well-
jump in, but I do have something relevant to add to that.
Well,
Which-
Trey, I was
or-
about
yes,
to
Wes-
just turn it over to you to
Oh, okay.
provide
I'm on
comments
it.
in general.
Okay,
So
super.
we'll just-
Thank you. Sorry
yeah.
about that.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, well, to that point, the community council, their committee voted on this and then presented, the business partners presented a second time, not just to committee, but to the community council body at large. And I've referenced this in my staff report, and a letter has been provided, which actually states that they preferred this to be market rate housing because they were part of a collective support of a lawsuit actually against the city for basically the community council doesn't want it to be mostly in Section 8 or other housing, support housing in that regard. They wanted they encourage a mix of different kinds of housing, and from what I can gather from the letter, they pretty much bluntly stated that's part of, like, not only to save the building and the facade, which they valued, but also that this was in keeping with their view of having a mixture of different housing types, if that makes sense. So I think that's important to note, because that kind of segues from what was just being discussed. The other 2 points I have to make that are,
So Trey, on that point, the West End
yeah.
Community Council, because I didn't see that letter as I was reviewing the application materials, but the West End Community Council does support the project,
yeah,
or
I ended
just
up,
wants it to be market rate or what?
they do support it. I did not quote it directly because I don't want to have controversy, but I mean, as there was some mention of things that might, trigger looking at blight or something, but on page 4 of my staff report, at the bottom, I have quoted in substantial measure that part of it. You can see that the paragraph starting with further staff notes, applicant has provided a copy of the formal letter of support. And that is in the number of PDFs in the application. So you can find that and look at the original, not the original, but obviously a scanned version of it. But anyhow, I thought that was important to note because they called out multiple reasons they were in support of it, because of they didn't want a concentration of income restricted units exclusively. They wanted a diverse mix of housing, and so they also were seemed to be encouraged by the historic preservation of the street facing facade, so that it would maintain its historical character even though it's not in a historic district. The other real points that I have to make, which really go to the use variance, if this was torn down, David, this is a very small lot. I mean, it's a pretty small area, and it might have been able to accommodate, a lock shop or somebody who did printed business cards back in the day, like a small print shop or something of that nature. But this is not something that supports the goals of the, which I'm going to read here shortly. But I essentially noted that, this is a small lot. It's not conducive really to the manufacturing uses, which I'll get to in just a minute. And also, the building stock in the same block face as the subject property is a mixture of multifamily, mixed use, and even single family, rather than larger manufacturing facilities like you have with some of the breweries and things around there. And it's right across from a park at this time. So it's right across from the playground in the PR district. I'm going to read quickly the part of the the purposes of the district, the purposes of the MG district, as at least in the most recent iteration of the zoning code, is to create, preserve, and enhance areas that are appropriate for a wide variety of supporting and related commercial and manufacturing establishments that may have potential to generate off-site impacts. Future development will accommodate, and this is the important part, heavy industry and manufacturing uses, transportation facilities, warehousing and distribution, and similar and related supporting uses. These uses typically require sites with good transportation access. Well, I would state that a lot of this very small size is just simply not conducive to any of those uses that are the goals of and I think that's important. Not only preserving this building and providing the housing, as they pointed out, but it simply doesn't meet. It's not going to fit the bill for what the manufacturing district doesn't, wants, right? What it wants to provide. There's no way you're going to have loading zones and any kind of parking or any kind of truck thing, or you just don't have the capacity for a decent sized manufacturing facility or that was in those purposes I just just listed. There's no way to do that on this lot, and that combined with the fact that that it's had a previous use, mostly residential, albeit with a mixed use shop front, and then the fact that that same block face is all entirely of a similar nature. There's even one or two single family structures there. So I think it's really appropriate for this use in that based on the surrounding uses in that same block face. I think it's appropriate, and it just will not accommodate any of the goals of the just because of size and location, and it just won't accommodate any of the goals of MG district.
Okay. Great.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I was going to ask the applicants or the owners, how, you may know this as well, but how long has the building been vacant? Has it been since 2018 or longer, Mr. Stone?
There has not been a tenant in there since we have owned it since 2018. I can't speak on the previous. I'm guessing there wasn't, because I think we got it out of probably tax foreclosure. So I'm guessing it's probably been vacant for quite some time.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I'll give any member of the applicant owner team here an opportunity to make any comments in response to Trey's comments or any other comments in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today. Anything? Okay. Hearing nothing, I think we'll leave it at that. Unless, I don't know, if MB, are you trying to unmute? I can't tell.
I was, but so you're asking for us to just comment based upon what we just heard from the community?
Basically, if you want to say anything else, in response to anything Trey said, or in closing, or otherwise, before we adjourn. This is your last opportunity to address me before we close.
Well, I think that what he said was perfect, and we'll just wait to see if we need to comment on anything further.
Okay, great. Let's leave it at that then. So I've had a chance to review the application materials. I did not see that letter, but I will go back and of course take a look at that. But based on the staff report and based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this particular project. So I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. And so as soon as I finish that, I'll put it into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody in the hearing here today. So you all have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you all have that and Trey has it, you can approve the zoning on his end, and hopefully you all can take the next steps. Any questions about any of that? Okay, great. Well, if you do in the meantime, or you want a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. Otherwise, good luck with the project, and hope you all have a great day. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Dave.